Welcome to Politi-Talk Centered, where we invite you to have the conversation. I'm your host, Sandman.
And I'm your co-host, Holland.
Thank you for joining us today as we discuss the topic of whiteness in America. So, this all kind of started, Holland found a really good post on Facebook, and I read it, and I really haven't had time this past week, these last couple weeks, to really invest as much as I like to into these podcasts. When it comes to the interviews and stuff, it's a little bit easier actually for me than when we just have a discussion out of the blue, because I do like to do all the research, all the facts, and all that stuff, because I don't want to be misrepresenting or misleading you guys. So came across this though, and it's a very part of it is factual, but a lot of it honestly is just point of view, perspective, and opinion. So that's why I kind of just wanted to roll with it, because this is one of those issues that really honestly everybody knows, but nobody takes this side or talks about it, because especially if you're on the left, because it's immediate suicide as far as your peer group and stuff goes. So anything you want to say before we really get into this?
I mean, for those who are listening, I would just keep an open opinion on this. And like we said, just have the talk. Because for some viewers, you might obviously disagree. And if you do disagree, reach out to us and we can invite you onto the podcast to have the talk.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been really wanting to try to find people that are, of opposing view, and also willing to sit down and just, talk through our differences. And this one for sure, there is no shortage of people that will disagree or have an opinion on it. So I'm going to go ahead and just get right into the Facebook post itself and read it, because I mean it all hits it on the nail on the head. It really does. So I'll go ahead and get into this and read this for you guys. I have often wondered about why whites are racist and no other race is. Someone finally said it. How many are actually paying attention to this? There are African Americans, Mexican Americans, Asian Americans, Arab Americans, etc. And then there are just Americans. You pass me on the street and sneer in my direction. You call me white boy, cracker, honky, whitey, caveman, and that's okay. You say that whites commit a lot of violence against you. So why are the ghettos in the most dangerous places to live? You have the United Negro College Fund, you have Martin Luther King Day, you have Black History Month, you have Cesar Chavez Day, you have Yom HaShoah, you have Muhammad al-Nabi, you have the NAACP, you have BET. If we had WET, White Entertainment Television, we'd be racist. If we had a White Pride Day, you would call us racist. If we had White History Month, we'd be racist. If we had any organization for only whites to advance our lives, we'd be racist. We have a Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, a Black Chamber of Commerce, and then we have just the plain Chamber of Commerce. Wonder who pays for that? A white woman could not be in the Miss Black America pageant, but any color can be in the Miss America pageant. If we had a college fund that only gave white students scholarships, we'd be racist. There are over 60 openly proclaimed black colleges in the U.S. Yet if there were white colleges, that would be a racist college. In the Million Man March, you believed that you were marching for your race and rights. If we marched for our race and rights, you would call us racist. You are proud to be black, brown, yellow, and orange, and you are not afraid to announce it. But when we announce our white pride, you call us racist. You rob us, carjack us, and shoot at us. But when a white police officer shoots a black gang member or beats up a black drug dealer running from the law and posing a threat to society, you call him a racist. I am proud, but you call me racist. Why is it that only whites can be racists? There is nothing improper about this email. Let me see which of you are proud enough to send it on. I sadly don't think many will. That's why we have lost most of our rights in this country. We won't stand up for ourselves. Be proud to be white. It is not a crime yet, but getting very close. And that ends the post. And, there's a couple takes on that. It's like, okay, it's a little bit on the extreme side with a couple things, but the whole idea of it is the point that it's pushing. And it's all completely accurate. If there was anything directly associated with the Caucasian white race in America and any kind of public function or institution or anything like that, it would be viewed as racist. And yet we have plenty of other institutions that are specifically and solely exclusively for specific minority races. And I'm not saying that is racist, but I'm saying we have all of that. And yet it's racist for there to be a white one. So you're the one that found the post. I'll let you kind of get into your perspective of it.
So there's a lot of takes on this post that I agree with and I disagree with. So, obviously there's a lot of bad individuals in the past who ruined the whole term, white pride.
Yeah, there's the U.S. has no shortage of real actual racist white history.
So, to be really fair, I can get why, people would look at us as if we were to say white power or, something like that. Because in legit terms, neo-Nazis, KKK members, all those guys, skinheads in prisons and stuff, that's the terms that they use.
Yeah.
And obviously, we don't want to be associated with that. Like, by
no means, there's a reason that those stigmas and predispositions have been set.
Yeah.
In stone.
So it's kind of made it to the point where we obviously can't ever be things like that. I don't think that person really followed through with that when they got it.
It's a good example, but definitely it's very raw and lacking refine.
The picture though, in that post is the one that actually got me offended more than anything. So the picture within that fence shows a black gentleman who is holding a sign that says, "Dear white people, thanks for marching, but somebody still has to pay for the crimes of your ancestors." That triggered me the most.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. Like, this kind of goes back to something I saw with Trump that I completely saw coming, and it was I forgot his name. He's that I think he's CNN. He's one of the media talk show guys, but they were scrutinizing one of Trump's speeches, talking about back when we were just tearing down the Confederate statues and stuff, and Trump was saying, like, when's it going to be enough? Today it's Grant or whatever. Tomorrow it's George Washington or something, and ironically that came to fruition. And the talk show's response to that was, whenever it is enough. It's like, you're completely dodging the question. It's not that when is enough. It's it's never going to be enough. And that's with the way that people are going right now, that that are kind of catering to and flowing with this Black Lives Matter thing. It doesn't matter how much, if you bend the knee and kneel and kiss their feet or their shoes or whatever, and all this BS that they're having people do, it'll never be enough. You can pay reparations. Like, the government could break down and pay black people reparations on whatever system they figure out to give the right people the money, but it'll never be enough.
No, and my biggest problem with all that, like I said, is I don't believe in any reparations or anything. Why should I have to be held responsible? Now, I will fight with you and I will stand with you. I will do the marches. I will do everything that I can to make things better. Like, yeah, the system is corrupt. I get that. We've had numerous talks about this subject in the past. And I've made it clear in the past that, I'm a very firm believer that, when someone says, Black Lives Matter, I don't take it as like they're not saying that no matter, no life matters. It's just basically saying, hey, like when someone says, hey, let's go save the Amazon rainforest. Basically, you're stating that, hey, I know that every rainforest or every forest in the world matters, but what I'm trying to tell you is that this particular rainforest needs our attention more right now. And that's the best way I can explain it. And I understand it, the whole Black Lives Matter movement and stuff, but like we talked about, there has to be a point where it stops. Like if you think that I have to pay for what ancestors did in the past, you're dead wrong, because at that point, what if some white people came over after all this was done and over with? What if there was people who came over from like Greenland, Iceland, Canada, who came from Germany or something to escape World War II? The horrors of
Have nothing to do with the past existence of the United States and the slave trade and everything else.
exactly.
Literally nothing to do with. Now, I mean, I could see you maybe arguing the side of like, oh, well, there was slavery in Europe too. It's like, well, that's a Europe problem, not a U.S. problem.
Yeah,
It has nothing
exactly.
to do
That
with
has nothing
us.
to do with us.
And if you want to save the whole world, honestly, I mean, it's doable. You can save the world, but you can't do it yourself, and you're definitely not going to do it on a loosely organized movement that has no true vision or end goal. If you look at it, there's so many things that we could do. All right, like
You're aiming in the
point
dark.
out the like point out the institution that is actually oppressing you. Point out the laws that are oppressing you as minorities. Point those out so that we can fix them. But as of right now, there's nothing that they're saying other than that white people are racist, they have privilege, and they're the reason that there's problems in the black community. Like it's basically literally taking everything wrong with your demographic and blaming it on the other one that is appearing to do better than yours, and that's not only flawed, it's complete BS, and that's not a solution. That's not a solvable problem because you haven't actually stated a real problem that can have solutions. Show me, like they're talking about policing and stuff, and there's problems with police. It's like, okay, well, let's look at the demographics. Let's look at the statistics. Let's break this down. All right, where is this stuff actually happening, and then break it down to the actual individual. What do you call it? The individual instances in which cops were racist in people's views, and then take those situations and be like, okay, was this actual racism or was it misconstrued? And if it was racism, deal with making sure that justice is served, reprimands and proper measures are taken to make sure that doesn't happen again. And then also take it as a learning experience and institute proper training to these police forces so that doesn't happen. And nobody's talked about it ever since Trump signed off that law enforcement order that he put out, that it basically created a national database so that bad cops can't just bounce from precinct to precinct and stuff. Nobody's talking about that. And that's a huge thing. That's a huge measure that's going to really help making sure that policing is done correctly, that police have the resources for training that they need, and to also make sure that bad cops don't get to just start over again as if nothing ever happened. But kind of back onto the whites can't do anything without being racist. My whole life, I'm part Mexican, Mexican father, American mother, born in America. So mixed or whatever you want to call it. I've always identified as white. Just that's how I personally felt. Is what I felt comfortable. That's like where I naturally gravitated to. Like I didn't really ever feel like I was part of the Mexican or Latin community. I've always appreciated it, my heritage and stuff, and I'm proud of that. But I'm also proud of being an American. And really, I mean, growing up as a kid, like I never really saw race. Like I just people were people, and it wasn't until later on into like middle school and high school that really race and separating each other, at least mentally, differentiating each other off of your skin color, really that practice or whatever that mindset, was made aware to me. And to say, and then, I grew up, we're not the deep South, but it's a pretty southern area. I mean, we got apple orchards and stuff. It's pretty farming land. So I grew up in a fairly southern backwoods kind of influenced area, and racism was never a thing that bothered me or was an issue or whatever else. So to say that America has this systemic racism problem and that the police have a systemic racist problem, I think is bullshit. Because if it really was, I should have been more aware of it before, I was at that age that I was.
Yeah, but instead now it's, I can definitely understand that. I mean, me personally, I can't talk because, I'm pretty Caucasian. I'm pretty white. So, I don't have this room to talk about, stuff like that. I don't have, the ability to say that, I've always seen it. But me personally, as a white kid, I grew up in a little Latino neighborhood. I made friends that were, that were from part of the black community. I've had neighbors that were black, and I remember riding bikes with our kids. I remember riding with the Latino and stuff. I've never, never did my parents ever say anything bad. Never did any of like my family say anything bad. Um, and the other thing that kind of bugs me is like, we are from a pretty, like you and I, we do come from a little southern area. And me living up in Michigan now, I told one of my black coworkers, I told him that, the truth be told, the North is more racist than the South. And I was like, I was gonna say, I see more racism in the North than I've ever experienced in the South.
Yeah, and that's something that's from my experience as well. There was a conversation I had a while back, and if another friend, kind of your same situation. They were South Carolina, Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, all throughout their life, and then went up north a couple times, and they said like they were just completely taken aback by how racist, like the racist standpoints and banter that you would hear and experience up there, versus in the South. And I think part of that, honestly, does have to do with kind of desegregation and everything else. The South has been exposed more to kind of like the black culture, and other races too. You have a lot of Latinos and Hispanics in the agricultural workforce in the South that you don't have up north. And so like our exposure to other races has always been higher in the South than it has been in the North. And I feel like that is part of the reason for that. It's not so much something that happened today, but just leading up to, like, in the last 100 years, that's kind of set the stage for what it is today. Because when you own a business, or you work for business that employs people of all kinds of walks of race and culture, it's really hard. Like, it's really easy to immediately tell if you're racist or not. And it's very easy to just, at the minimum, get used to, even if you are racist, to just get used to so many different people around you and tolerate them to, some extent. And I think also part of that is respect, which goes back into one of the videos in our playlist that we have on the YouTube page with all the TED Talks. I can't remember his name, but he was a black man who was good friends with the KKK's Grand Dragon. And
mistake too.
And
all by a mistake too, just by doing an interview.
Well, yeah, kind of. Like, I mean, he just wanted to learn more, and it blossomed out of that. And the key to that was respect. They both respected each other. They both had very different opinions and viewpoints. The guy, the KKK member guy, made it clear that he was superior to him because of race and everything else. But he respected him because he would take the time to listen to him and hear what he had to say. And that's respect is a very, it's a commodity that isn't cheap, but you can't put a price on. It's invaluable. And that is the biggest problem that I see today, and especially like with this whole, white people can't do anything without being racist, is it's because of a complete lack of respect.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. Like, nobody can take the time to respect each other anymore.
And to make it extremely clear, respecting one another does not mean you like them. It does not mean that you agree with them. It doesn't even mean that you want to interact with them. But simply respecting somebody means that you take the moral high ground and the courtesy to at least acknowledge somebody on an equal playing field. Because, at the end of the day, I don't care how rich or poor, what color your skin is, what your religious belief or lack thereof is, we are all the same. And respecting one another acknowledges that we are the same. We might not think the same, we might not act the same, we might not talk the same or look the same. But when we respect each other, we acknowledge that we are all humans and we're all equally flawed, and we're all in this together. So whether or not I agree with you, I'll respect you because we share this planet together, and that's the least I can do to make our lives both better for each other.
For sure.
But yeah, that was just that post. It really got me going. I mean, I know it got you going too. That's why you shared it. But like we said earlier, if anybody listening, completely disagrees with us, or you just have, a differing opinion from us that, that really what has happened in the United States is, you got, everybody calling white people racist, but honestly, when you really break it down, everybody else is being a lot more racist to the white people. And if we cry out about it or complain, it's because we're racist. And like I said, it's a fine line because there is true racism. I'm by no means saying that racism isn't real. But just, it's getting out of hand. I mean, it really is. And there's a whole lot of pointing, a whole lot of name calling and blaming and all of this one-sided conversation. It's not even conversation, it's just screaming and yelling at this point, literally and figuratively. And if you're one of these people that you fully support Antifa, you fully support Black Lives Matter, and you truly believe in that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I challenge you to take the time, walk up to somebody with a red MAGA hat and talk to them. Don't scream at them. Don't yell at them. Don't berate them. Ask them why they believe what they believe, and see if they'll let you explain why you believe what you believe. I guarantee you they more than likely will if you approach them politely and respectfully. And if anything else, at the end of that conversation, both of you can walk away understanding each other's sides a little bit better. And that's how you make progress. That's how you find solutions. You don't find solutions stonewalling people. You find solutions working together. And that's how you get to progress.
Exactly. You got to actually work for it.
Yeah, no, you do. You do. And, protesting only gets you so far, but when your protest doesn't have a real end goal that isn't threats, I mean, you're not going to get much. You're not going to get far. But that is a talk for another time. Pretty sure we've extinguished this topic well enough, I guess. It's definitely very in-depth, but I really feel like I want to talk with somebody that's on the other side of this. I really do. Because I have a lot of bias. I really... It really annoys me and makes me mad every time I see a lot of the media coverage for the protest riots and Antifa and Black Lives Matter and stuff. It really annoys me, and maybe that's just because I haven't completely looked into everything about it, and that's the kind of conversation I want to have is what does it really mean to you guys? Because I've read Black Lives Matter's statement, their mission statement and everything, and I know and hope that everybody that supports Black Lives Matter doesn't agree with their mission statement, because their mission statement is
garbage.
Just, I can't comprehend how you would have to be that stupid to even write it. It literally is basically making it to where it's impossible to have a family. It's impossible to be responsible. It's impossible to be successful because all of those are white traits. And I had to read it in portions because I couldn't believe it. I honestly couldn't believe that this was how BLM viewed whiteness in America, and success as being a bad thing, that being responsible was a bad thing, that caring for and taking care of your family was a bad thing. That just really, like, and when you look at like black culture and stuff, and like more black people go to church than white people per capita. More black people are openly religious than white people per capita. And if you took a checklist, of everything that black people believe in, and then like you did a blind yes or no questionnaire of Democratic and Republican values, traditional values for both sides, I guarantee you about 85 to 90% of black people would agree with right conservative values, because that's their culture. That is what they believe. Those are the values that their family raised them on, that their mothers raised them on. And almost none of the liberal leftist value systems really actually speak to the black community. And yet they're their biggest voting base. So there's a lot of stuff that just it's just mind numbing to me. It really is.
Yeah, for sure. It's I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of to the point where I'm tired of seeing all of this on social media and everything. And it just, some of the ideals that I'm seeing and some of the stuff that I'm seeing is just getting more ignorant at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, it really is mentally exhausting. It really is because, at the end of the day, it's just been one thing after the other, after the other. And it's like there's no break in it anymore. There's no just a normal day in America, the normal day in the suburbs or a normal day in the country or in the city. There's always some agenda from someone being stuffed down our throats. And it's just mentally exhausting. And that's kind of, part of our mission is to kind of quell that. I don't want to be told what to believe. I don't want to be told what people think is important. I want to know what I care about and what affects me. And I want to hear other people speak for themselves and not. And ironically, like with all this BLM stuff right now, it's more white people doing stuff than black people. And that officer that was interviewed, like almost half a month ago or something, a couple weeks back, he was running the riot squads at one of the protests or whatever, and I mean after, I think he's like after the first week, I mean like he wanted to talk with them and hear them out, and so like every day he started going up to the fence, and and a black person would come up, and he'd be like, what do you think, or why, what is motivating you to do this? And every time, or they would come up and they would ask him questions or try to ask him questions, and every time they did, a white person, a white liberal would come up and shut them down, say, why are you talking to him? And he's a black police officer. And it's like, when you really want to break down who the racists are in the BLM kind of sphere, I would say a majority of the white people supporting quote unquote supporting Black Lives Matter are actually the real racists, because they don't care about black people. They don't care about solving problems. They're just there to tell black people what is right and what is wrong. And if anything is racist, it's a white person telling a black person how they should live their life.
Which is kind of up.
Yeah. And yet, this is your people, your supporters, they're here for you. But yeah, that's also another topic for another time. That's a whole can of stuff right there. Anyway, I'd say we've had a decent discussion on this.
Yeah.
Nothing too bad. Anything that you wanted to say in conclusion?
No, just same thing that you agreed with. If anybody did have, again, a different opinion, different view, or maybe that or you fully support one of these groups and you want to have that discussion with us, like we welcome you with open arms. We can, definitely swap contact information and set up a date and time when we can do this. Like,
yeah, hit us up on our Discord, hit us up on our Facebook, our email. I believe I have it posted on YouTube as well as Facebook, polititalkcentered@gmail.com, written out the same way it's written on the page. Send us an email. And, we're not here to attack anybody individually.
No.
All day, I will attack an institution and a movement, because that is not people. That's something in itself. It's an entity on its own. I'll attack that. But, anybody that individually believes in something, I don't want to attack anybody individually. I want to understand people individually. And so, if what we've said has offended you, or you disagree with us, completely, we're not looking to tell you you're wrong or, explain to you why we're right. No, I want to know why you believe that. I honestly want to. I want to, maybe, I'm not going to say like I want to support you or anything, but like I want to help you. I want you to help me help you in a way that we can at least both understand each other. And that's vice versa as well. It goes both ways. I want to explain why I believe and feel the way I do. What's my experiences and stuff that have brought me to my conclusions. And so I just want to level the playing field because I know why I believe what I believe. I want to level that playing field so that I know why the other side follows and believes what they believe. So definitely hit us up. We would love to have a conversation. If you don't want to be on the published main podcast, that's fine too. If you just want to have a conversation with us on the side, I've gotten a lot more busy now than back when we started. But regardless of that, I definitely can put aside, 20, 30 minutes to even an hour of my time personally, and we can just talk. Because, it's not about, it's good to have these conversations put out there for everybody to learn from, but at the minimum, at least I can learn from it, and it'll help my understanding of why, things are the way they are.
Agreed.
Well, anyway, so thank you everybody for listening. For those of you listening on YouTube, our conversation ends here, but catch us on our Discord for the full unedited live podcasts. We have a section after this called Off the Rails where we just kind of talk about whatever, have random conversations. So if you want to hear those, check us out on Discord. Link will be in the description. Hope you enjoyed it and have a great one.